Let me tell you a secret. I didn't start out wealthy, wise, or particularly well-dressed. I started out drifting, mentally, financially, spiritually. I was the kind of person who would read money books and nod sagely, then go order takeout for the third night in a row while my credit card interest quietly plotted my financial demise. This book didn't come from a mountaintop. It came from a mess. From bank accounts that cried themselves to sleep. From late-night existential crises where I asked the universe, is there more to life than just paying bills and pretending I'm okay? Spoiler, there is. One day, one frustrating, ordinary day, I decided to stop waiting for life to hand me a breakthrough. I stopped performing for the world and started showing up for myself. I got my hands dirty with the truth, and I'll be honest, some of it hurt, but most of it healed. And a lot of it made me laugh out loud at how ridiculous we are when we try to get rich without first getting real. This book is not for everyone. It's for the wanderers, the underdogs, the self-deprecating dreamers who are tired of grinding for crumbs while influencers sell you magic pills from rented Lamborghinis. It's for people who are serious about building wealth, but don't want to lose their soul doing it. Inside, you'll find hard truths, gentle nudges, and the occasional slap of financial reality, lovingly delivered. You'll learn how to outgrow the broke mindset, trade victimhood for accountability, and get rich without becoming the kind of person who forgets where they came from. No fluff, no overnight miracles, just the kind of wisdom that makes you smirk, nod, and maybe finally start. Welcome to The Wealthy Fool. Let's make you rich, and keep your mind intact while we're at it. Introduction. Life has that funny way of shuffling us around like a deck of cards, revealing unexpected hands when we least expect it. My journey from uncertainty to clarity wasn't a smooth ride on a straight highway. No, it felt more like a winding road full of potholes, detours, and the occasional cow crossing. I can still remember the bewilderment of stepping into adulthood, as if I was trying to put together a jigsaw puzzle with half the pieces missing. My initial ambition was a cloudy vision of success, peppered with a sprinkle of self-doubt and a dash of existential angst. Funny how I thought those quirky misadventures, like that time I took a job selling vacuum cleaners door to door or decided to become an actor in my teenage years, were merely embarrassing blips in my life story. In hindsight, each peculiar episode turned out to be a valuable lesson, like how not to run a business, or that it's okay to laugh at yourself even when life gives you lemons and a mediocre recipe for lemonade. As I sat in that diner booth, reminiscing about all the forks in the road I had taken, it struck me how each choice, however small or misguided, led me straight to this moment. Picture me, a bundle of nerves, fidgeting in a cracked vinyl seat, ready to spill the beans on wealth while sipping a lukewarm cup of coffee that tasted suspiciously like regret and missed opportunities. Wealth isn't just about the numbers in your bank account. It's tied to freedom, choices, and, most importantly, your sanity. It's fascinating how chasing wealth can sometimes unleash a tidal wave of pressure, confusion, and what I like to call monetary madness. The key takeaway? Recognizing that every fork in the road is an opportunity to pivot, learn, and adapt. The art lies in being aware of where you've been and being mindful of where you want to go, all while remaining true to yourself. Along the way, I learned that it's not the sparkling cars or flashy homes that define success, but the genuine moments we create and the peace we find in ourselves. Wealth means different things to different people. For some, it's the luxury of time, the ability to travel freely or invest in passions without a second thought. For others, it's simply having enough to live comfortably without the gnawing stress of financial burdens. The next time you ponder your own relationship with wealth, consider this. It's less about the destination and more about the journey, and the diner booths where stories are shared over warm, greasy fries. Reflect, adapt, and remember that sometimes the road less traveled leads to the richest experiences. It was a Tuesday, and I remember it as vividly as the slice of pie I was nursing at the local diner, apple, with extra whipped cream, of course. Sitting there, scrolling through countless social media feeds, I felt like an extra in my own life story, watching everyone else chase their dreams while I remained blissfully adrift. Then it hit me like the punchline of a comedian's best joke. Drifting was no longer an option. I could see the turning point clearly. I had spent so long floating through jobs that barely paid the bills, career paths that led me nowhere, and choices that reflected my reluctance to take the wheel. In that moment, I realized I needed to steer into life, or I would end up crashing into a wall of missed opportunities. That day, with my coffee going cold in front of me, I made the decision to actively pursue a change. I opened a notebook, scribbling down every goal I had, both imaginary and realistic. I wanted a job that challenged me, a life that fulfilled me, and heck, a fancy coffee machine wouldn't hurt either. It was so much easier to blame circumstances or poor fortune for my financial woes. But deep down I knew it was my own choices keeping me locked in that rut. With one simple choice to stop drifting, my financial destiny began to flip. I took a part-time gig that sparked my creativity instead of just paying rent. Little by little, I started to turn the tide. I like to think of those days as my personal sitcom, the kind that's funny in retrospect, but made me question all my life choices at the time. Each misstep was a laughable lesson in what I didn't want to become. So, how did I finally find my way? By facing the absurdity of it all and realizing adventures don't always go as planned. It turned out the wrong paths taught me lessons I desperately needed. Life is a grand comedy if you let it be. So, the next time you find yourself chuckling at yet another mishap, remember, sometimes the wrong turns get you to the right destination. Embrace them, learn from them, and keep turning toward the things that light you up. When drifting feels like the default mode, it's vital to remember that taking charge of your life can start with one small decision, one sharp turn off the road you've been gliding along. You don't need to have it all figured out, just the courage to make that first move. Make your own list of dreams, no matter how wild or grounded. Then, go out and start making them happen. Get out of that diner booth and pick up your own slice of life, however messy it may be. Consider this your friendly heads up. Some of the advice in this book might hit a little too close to home. You know that playful poke in the ribs from a friend, just when you're lost in thought. This is what it's like. You might find yourself squirming a bit as we dig into topics that can feel uncomfortable. It's not necessarily fun, but it's important. Facing tough truths often feels like standing on a diving board, looking down at the water below. The height intimidates you, even as you know that a refreshing dip is waiting. So, take a deep breath and let's jump into this together. The nudges you'll receive along the way may lead to a more profound understanding of your financial habits and the hopes you hold for your future. Why is it often uncomfortable to face the truth? Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? We humans are wired to seek comfort, so our instinct is to brush aside the hard realities, like sweeping crumbs under the rug. Who wants to confront the fact that they've been spending more than they earn, or that procrastination is costing them potential riches? But here's the kicker. The very act of looking these issues squarely in the eye is the first step toward genuine wealth and happiness. Imagine a life where financial freedom is not just a dream but a reality, and it's not just about the numbers in your bank account. It's about the peace of mind that comes from owning your life choices, from living authentically. You only learn to swim by taking the plunge, right? This journey towards financial literacy and personal growth requires some initial awkwardness, but it's entirely worth it in the end. A practical tip? Start with self-reflection. Set aside a few moments each week to evaluate your financial habits, even the embarrassing ones. Grab a pen and a notebook, or open up a note app on your phone, and jot down where your money goes. Be honest. The more you lay it all out, the clearer the path to your goals will become. This honest look will help you acknowledge where you are, making it that much easier to figure out where you want to go. Embrace the poke in the ribs. It just might lead you to a brighter financial future. Chapter 1. The Mindset That Makes or Breaks You. Why broke people stay broke. A scarcity mindset can be like a broken record, endlessly playing the same notes of fear and limitation. It traps people in a cycle that feels familiar but ultimately leads nowhere, much like a hamster running furiously on its wheel. The thought patterns develop into a belief system where money is seen as scarce, causing individuals to hoard what little they have instead of investing in opportunities for growth. This fear of loss morphs into an aversion to change, making it difficult to step outside their comfort zones. If you constantly believe that every dollar you spend is a dollar lost, how can you ever think of earning more? It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, where the anxiety about not having enough perpetuates the very struggle for sustenance. Let's take a moment to look at a few friends of mine. I have one buddy, let's call him Joe. Every time I see Joe, he's complaining about being broke. Yet I can't help but notice how often he reaches for the latest gadget or spends a good chunk of his paycheck on takeout. Each payday, he's excited to spend, only to look at his bank balance days later and lament about his financial woes. He often says, "I can't afford to save," which ironically signals to the universe that he indeed can't. Then there's Sarah, who is a wizard with coupons, but always seems to be targeting sales for necessities rather than considering investments in herself. While any penny saved feels victorious in the short term, it suffocates her potential to thrive in the long run. It's a pattern seen time and again. A focus on scarcity pushes many to merely survive instead of thrive. Self-limiting beliefs are like heavy chains that hold even well-meaning individuals in positions that feel unchangeable. You can witness how their unease constantly pulls them back, even when opportunities present themselves. A practical tip? Try reframing your relationship with money and think of each expense as either a cost or an investment. This small shift in mindset can create ripples of change. When you begin to see money as a tool rather than a prison, you open yourself up to possibilities and see the world with a little more optimism. After all, the road to financial freedom is often long, but each small step can lead to a brighter destination. The difference between rich mentality and poor mentality. The world often splits into two distinct realms. One where abundance flows like a never-ending river, and another where scarcity feels more like a bad sitcom that keeps playing the same tired jokes. Imagine walking into a diner where one table is bustling with laughter, people talking about the next great venture, while at another table, a group is dissecting their latest failed attempts at dinner. The difference isn't just about money in the bank, it's about mindset. A rich mentality sees opportunities everywhere, even in the wreck of a missed opportunity, while a poor mentality focuses on what's missing, more like a kid who's just been told there's no dessert. The rich think, "Hey, nobody ever got wealthy by stealing a slice of pizza," while the poor lament, "Why is it always a pizza party when I'm on a diet?" Thinking habits create invisible barriers or bridges. For instance, a financially successful person might look at a high-priced course as an investment in their future. They know that the right knowledge can yield far more than the initial cost. In contrast, the financially sour might scoff and think, "Why would I spend that much on something I can Google?" This tight-fisted view stems from an inability to see that sometimes you need to spend to grow. Rich individuals often ask themselves, "How can I turn this investment into profit?" While the others are more likely to brood, "Why is everyone else spending money when we're all broke?" The difference in these thoughts can resemble the difference between a rocket ship and a rusty old sedan. One is ready to soar, the other is stuck in the driveway, tires so flat they resemble pancakes. In daily life, these mentalities showcase themselves in the simplest decisions. Picture two friends meeting for coffee. The wealthy one might choose a boutique cafe with artisanal coffee and discuss a business idea. The other friend, limited by their mindset, opts for the dollar store brew, scoffing at the price of fancy coffee. Yet, it's in this preference that their worlds diverge. The first friend is investing in experiences that can help cultivate relationships and ideas that lead to growth. Meanwhile, the other is often left lamenting the cost of success or inspiration. Humble beginnings don't need to mean humble thinking. Every choice, every little detail, can either anchor you down or give you wings. So, next time you find yourself caught in a mindset bind, ask yourself this: what do I truly want to achieve, and what am I willing to invest, be it time, money, or even a good pinch of humor, to reach that goal? The power of beliefs and internal narratives. The stories we tell ourselves can either launch us into financial success or keep us shackled to mediocrity. Think about it. When you wake up each day, are you the hero of your story, ready to conquer challenges, or are you the sidekick, just tagging along with a laundry list of limiting beliefs? Beliefs shape our reality. For someone who sees money as a tool for freedom, each dollar earned is an opportunity, a stepping stone to something greater. But for another who views it as a source of stress, money becomes a weight tied around their neck. This internal narrative dictates not just our financial destiny, but our overall happiness. It's like trying to play Monopoly while convinced you can only roll ones. That's a lot of time spent circling the board without ever making it to boardwalk. Understanding that your thoughts and beliefs are powerful agents of change is the first step in transforming your life. We all have those days when our inner monologue sounds like an over-caffeinated critic at a comedy roast, ready to tear us down at any moment. It's time to give that voice a makeover. After all, you deserve more than a one-act tragedy starring your self-doubt. Instead of letting negativity run the show, flip the script. Try occasional affirmations like "I am capable," or I can make money work for me. It may feel silly at first, standing in front of a mirror and whispering motivational phrases to yourself while your cat judges you from the sidelines, but changing your inner dialogue can be immensely empowering. Challenge the negative thoughts with witty comebacks to yourself. Humor can disarm those pesky doubts. Who says you can't laugh your way to a better mindset? Remember, every thought is a choice. Choose to indulge in thoughts that lift you up and propel you forward. Life is too short for boring internal conversations. Chapter 2. Victimhood is not a business strategy. Why you have to drop the life is unfair attitude. Addressing the victim mentality can't be overstated. It's a poor business strategy, like opening a lemonade stand but refusing to buy lemons. Why exactly would anyone embark on such a venture? You wouldn't, because it's impractical. Similarly, adopting a mindset that insists the world has conspired against you is equally unproductive. The reality is, life throws curveballs, and everyone faces their share of unfairness. It's how you respond that truly matters. If you cling to that victim mentality, you are effectively abandoning the lemonade stand you've built, leaving it to collect dust while you bemoan the injustice. Instead of wallowing in self-pity, why not take stock of what you do have? Turn those lemons into lemonade. Do the work, make adjustments, and focus on solutions, not problems. The world is a large, messy place, filled with challenges. Acknowledge them, but don't let them dictate your choices. Reflecting on my own journey, I have to chuckle at the times I indulged in self-pity instead of taking actionable steps. Picture me at my lowest, sitting on my couch, devouring something that could only be described as comfort food. I remember those evenings vividly, where I thought, why does everyone else seem to have it all together? The reality is, while I was wandering far too deep in the rabbit hole of self-pity, others were out learning new skills, networking, and seizing opportunities. There was one particular night when I sat and scrolled through social media, watching friends achieve milestones, while I was busy thinking I was the most slighted person in the universe. That self-pity party, it didn't pay my bills or inspire others. It only filled my evening with regret and unhealthy snacks. So instead of indulging in these moments of despair, I now look back and recognize that those choices only stunted my growth. Now, I remind myself to act instead of react, to invest in my own potential rather than luxuriate in self-defeat. It dawned on me that every time I found myself wallowing in that familiar sensation of unfairness, it was just an opportunity disguised in a negative feeling. Shifting perspective is truly the first step toward making progress. Each moment spent yearning for things to be different is a moment lost in which I could have been creating my own path. While life is indeed full of inequities, it's also a rich tapestry of opportunities waiting for you to seize. Whenever that victim mentality tries to creep back in, I have a little mantra I remind myself of. Lemons are better for your business than self-pity. Remembering that helps keep me focused. Always look for ways to turn setbacks into comebacks because, at the end of the day, it's all about how you respond to the challenges ahead. Lessons from those who made it despite setbacks. Resilience often shows up in the most unexpected places. Take the story of J.K. Rowling, for example. Before she became the queen of the literary world with Harry Potter, she faced a string of rejections from publishers that could make anyone question their worth. It was not just rejection letters. It was the looming shadow of loneliness, poverty, and a lack of belief in herself. Yet, these setbacks shaped her narrative. Each no only fueled her determination, proving that sometimes a setback is merely a setup for a remarkable comeback. It's a beautiful reminder that every struggle has a story behind it, a tale of perseverance that often remains unseen. Many forget that success isn't a straight line. It's more like a spaghetti noodle, twisted, tangled, and often messy, but ultimately leading to something deliciously rewarding. Now, let's talk about the magic of humor. It can be an excellent tool for diffusing life's chalkboard-scraping challenges. Consider the comic genius of Ellen DeGeneres. Before becoming a household name, she experienced a very public downfall and found herself at a crossroads. Instead of hiding in the shadows, she chose to embrace the awkwardness of her predicament with laughter. Humor allowed her to tackle hard truths and navigate through chaos with a sense of lightness. It's amazing how a good chuckle can shift perspective. Suddenly, the monumental mountain in front of you is just a lumpy speed bump on your journey. When you can laugh at your troubles, you take away their power over you. That's the key. Disarming challenges with a wink and a nudge makes them feel less threatening and more manageable. Here's a practical takeaway. The next time life throws a curveball your way, pause for a moment to find humor in the situation. You might just discover a fresh perspective that helps you turn a setback into a stepping stone. Making light of your trials doesn't erase them, but it certainly makes them a lot easier to shoulder. Like they say, if you stumble, make it part of the dance. Embrace your hiccups and keep moving forward with a smile. You never know, it might just be the secret ingredient to your next big success. Humor in recognizing your own excuses. When you look in the mirror, what do you see? A tired face? A reflection haunted by the ghosts of missed workouts and abandoned New Year's resolutions? We all have our excuses, those sneaky little monsters that come out to play whenever we're confronted with the need to act. Picture them, wearing little capes, striking poses, and ready to convince you that right now is not the time to chase those dreams. I can't go to the gym because I'm too tired, they whisper. I'll start my diet tomorrow, they promise, like kids stationed by the cookie jar. We give these excuses more drama than a soap opera. They twist our thoughts, amplify our fears, and often cause us to miss out on the good stuff. But what if we took a step back and laughed at them instead? When we treat our excuses like the ridiculous characters they are, we diminish their power. Maybe it's time to replace that furrowed brow with a chuckle when faced with the oh-so-familiar narratives that derail us. Instead of melodrama, let's summon the humor in our own procrastination. Recognizing these excuses as mere comic relief in the grand show of life is the first step towards stopping them from running the show. It can be amusing to think about how quickly we can shift from I can't to I will when we find the right motivation or a compelling reason to change the channel on our excuses. Have you ever watched someone tackle a challenge and you think, wow, I wish I could do that? But then you remember that one convincing excuse that keeps you snugly nested in your comfort zone. The truth is, the absurdity of our justifications is often laughable. I can't do public speaking because my cat makes me nervous. What? Our brain can whip up some wild tales to prevent us from stepping outside. But when you start turning I can't into I will, you're not just changing the words, you're reshaping your entire narrative. Try on the phrase I will for size. It has a certain power, doesn't it? It suggests action, commitment, and perhaps a hint of rebellion against our own limitations. Yes, there will be awkward moments, maybe a misstep when trying something new, but can't you just imagine the stories you'd tell? It's all about finding humor in the journey. The next time an excuse pops up, take a moment to poke fun at it. Ask yourself, is this really true, or am I just following the plot twist of my own soap opera? This playful self-reflection nudges us toward transformation. You might not be able to silence all your self-critique, but you can definitely introduce a sense of levity into the mix. Remember, laughter is one of the best motivators. It doesn't just lighten your soul, it propels you closer to that I will. To break the habit of overdramatizing your excuses, try keeping a journal where you humorously recount these moments each week. Jot down those ridiculous reasons why you didn't take action and laugh at how trivial they seem once you've written them down. This practice not only makes you more aware of the sneaky excuses, but will also help you refocus your mindset towards the actions that really matter. Chapter 3. Entitlement is a wealth repellent. Expecting treasure chests to appear in our lives is something many of us do, at least in our daydreams. Picture this. You're wandering along a beach, and suddenly, a mysterious chest half buried in the sand catches your eye. You rush over, heart racing, imagining the gold coins and glittering jewels that await inside. Instead, you pop it open to find an empty pizza box lingering in the salty air. The disappointment sinks in, doesn't it? This scenario mirrors the harsh reality that rewards often don't just land in our laps like some magic fairy tale. More often than not, they require elbow grease, tenacity, and a good sense of humor when the universe hands you scraps instead of treasures. Like that time I thought a promotion was just a casual chat away, only to find my boss casually dropping a "let's explore other options" instead. The joke was on me, no treasure, just a long look at the pizza box of unrealized expectations. Contrast this with stories you hear from people who work hard, stay humble, and choose gratitude over entitlement. There's that friend who, despite numerous setbacks, dedicates himself to mastering his craft, spending late nights improving, not grumbling about how unfair it is that others seem to get ahead without the same effort. His victories, however small, become a testament to his dedication. As he celebrates each step forward, a pat on the back, a thank you from a peer, or an unexpected opportunity. He appreciates the journey and recognizes that while treasure chests may not be lining his path, every improvement is a jewel added to his crown of growth. In contrast, I remember a colleague whose sense of entitlement left him perpetually disappointed because he believed the accolades should come without the effort. Spoiler alert, they didn't. Hard work isn't just about the destination. It's also about the wonderful, often hilarious, momentum of the journey, the moments that teach us resilience. Ultimately, what really counts is grasping that the world isn't an automatic vending machine dispensing dreams with the press of a button. The more we lean into humility and an earnest work ethic, the more we fortify our mindset against life's inevitable disappointments. Each empty pizza box we encounter can teach us something. Persistence, laughter, or perhaps even the realization that some struggles are an essential part of our grand adventure. Embrace the process and find joy in the little victories. That's the real treasure. Remember, the next time you get handed an empty box, you might just find the ingredients for a delightful pizza party instead. Real success versus social media success. The highlight reels we see online can often seem like a curated dream, a glossy magazine cover of people living their best lives. Scrolling through your feed, you might ask yourself, why isn't my life that vibrant? Why don't I have the luxury of waking up in a mansion, sipping artisanal coffee, and lounging on tropical beaches? It's all very enticing, isn't it? Yet, behind those smiling faces and filtered sunsets lies a world of real struggles, failures, and battles that rarely get airtime. Most of us are fighting our way through the unglamorous grind, a job that tires us out, relationships that challenge the very core of our being, and dreams that seem just out of reach. We don't often capture the moments of frustration or the deep breaths taken before stepping onto the stage of life. This is the irony of social media. It showcases the glorious moments while keeping the struggles hidden in the shadows. But let's be real, success, as it turns out, is messy. It's filled with awkward conversations, abrupt detours, endless rejections, and a barista who spells your name wrong. True success isn't just about the destination. It's about who you become in the process of chasing those dreams. Chasing this kind of superficial success, often glamorized by viral trends and influencer lifestyles, can leave you feeling emptier than a half-drunk smoothie in a trendy cafe. You might find yourself caught in the whirlwind of the latest challenges, from the ice bucket challenge to the dab dance, and wonder if that applause and those likes on your posts are truly filling your soul or just providing fleeting dopamine kicks. There's a certain emptiness that comes from valuing likes over life. Sure, it feels great to be viral for a minute, but how often do those moments of fame lead to lasting fulfillment? Spoiler alert, they rarely do. Instead, they often leave you questioning, is this really who I am? Sooner or later, that rush fizzles, and what are you left with? Perhaps a viral dance move you can no longer do without accidentally tripping over your own feet, and a nagging sense that you're not really moving forward in life. Look deeper. The real magic happens not in likes, but in the simple, often thankless hustle of daily living. Find joy in the smaller victories, finishing that daunting project, having a heart-to-heart with a friend, or simply enjoying a quiet moment with yourself. In a world obsessed with perfection, remember this: it's okay to be a work in progress, often messy and imperfect. Embrace your obstacles. They are the stepping stones to genuine success. So the next time you find yourself comparing your reality to someone else's highlight reel, take a step back and remind yourself that everyone has their battles. You are on your unique journey, figuring it out one awkward step at a time. Celebrate the realness in your struggles, channel your inner wisdom, and take comfort in knowing that true success is about building a life that feels right to you, not just one that looks good on social media. As you work toward your goals, let your values drive you more than the number of followers or likes you receive. Life is richer when you stop chasing trends and start pursuing authenticity. How to earn respect, not demand it. Cultivating respect is a journey, one that often requires a solid dose of humility, determination, and genuine connection. The old-fashioned way of earning respect revolves around hard work, putting in the effort, and showing up consistently. Imagine a time when you rolled up your sleeves and really dedicated yourself to something, whether it was a project at work or a personal goal. People notice that kind of commitment. When you invest time in building authentic relationships, where you listen more than you speak and genuinely care about what others think and feel, you start to create an atmosphere of respect. This isn't about schmoozing your way to the top or charming your colleagues with clever quips. It's about finding common ground, sharing laughs, and even admitting your mistakes, all while making it clear that you value their opinions and contributions. The language of ego is loud, isn't it? It has this way of creeping in, whispering sweet nothings about how great we are, often drowning out the lessons our humbler selves desperately need to hear. Picture this. You're at a meeting, brimming with brilliant ideas that could take the team to the next level, but somewhere deep down, you feel that need to prove yourself. You suddenly become that person who dominates the conversation, inadvertently sidelining others' input. Spoiler alert, ego masks are a dead giveaway, and they can sabotage even the brightest prospects. I remember a time when I let my own ego take the wheel. I was so focused on showcasing my achievements that I missed the valuable insights of my peers. Once I finally took a step back and let go of the urge to shine all the time, I discovered the beauty of teamwork and the depth of respect that flows when everyone feels seen, heard, and valued. Respect is reciprocal. Give it freely, and it may just come back to you tenfold. As you navigate your own path to earning respect, keep in mind that it's less about standing on a pedestal and more about walking alongside others. Share your journey, be open about your struggles, and let your authenticity fly. People resonate with realness, and the more you share your journey, complete with its bumps and turns, the more others are likely to respect and connect with you. The next time you feel the urge to demand respect or feel slighted for not receiving it, pause and reflect. Have you truly earned it? Sometimes, a little self-awareness mixed with a willingness to listen can open doors you didn't even know existed. Chapter 4. You're not lazy, you're just undisciplined. Routine and habit as the foundation of freedom. Building healthy routines gives you the freedom to pursue your desired paths without chaos. Imagine waking up each day with a plan that flows seamlessly, rather than scrambling to find your shoes while searching for your car keys under a pile of yesterday's laundry. Healthy routines are like the well-oiled engines of a train. They keep you chugging along the track of progress instead of allowing you to derail into the valley of procrastination and chaos. When you establish a routine, it becomes a pathway that directs your actions, steering you toward your goals rather than letting you wander aimlessly. You can let go of the chaos that comes from a lack of direction and instead gain the clarity that empowers you to take meaningful steps toward what matters most. This doesn't mean you'll never deviate from your path. It's more like having your GPS set for a destination. Once you hit a pothole, the system recalibrates, guiding you back on track. Now, let me share some personal stories illustrating my comically frustrating journey in adopting new habits. You'd think that after reading all those self-help books and hearing motivational speeches, I'd have nailed this whole routine thing down by now. One time, motivated by Pinterest, I decided to start a miracle morning routine that promised to enhance my well-being and productivity. So there I was, up at 5 a.m., bleary-eyed, feeling like I was starring in some kind of wellness infomercial. I had my green smoothie, my meditation app set to support my Zen aspirations, and I was ready to conquer the world. But then, as I tried to quiet my mind, all I could think about were the 3 dishes left in the sink and whether I should have worn mismatched socks. My meditation app chimed to remind me I was wandering, but little did I know that would become the theme of my journey, an ongoing battle between aspiration and reality. Spoiler alert, I burned out in 3 days and reverted back to living my life on caffeinated autopilot. It was hilarious to look back on, not so much in the moment. These amusing setbacks highlighted that adopting new habits is indeed a work in progress, often drenched in sweat and laughter. The key is understanding that routines don't have to be perfect, they just have to be consistent. Don't let the fear of failing at your new morning routine deter you. Embrace the messiness of growth instead. Each attempt, no matter how bizarre, nudges you closer to a version of yourself that's just waiting to break free, armed with newfound insights and strategies. So, if you trip and fall on the journey toward your routines, remember it's not the end. It's all part of the hilarious adventure that is life. A practical tip? Start small. Trade your morning routine for a 5-minute stretch or a brisk walk around the block. Little habits like these can lead you to big changes without the overwhelming weight of perfectionism crumbling your freedom. The myth of motivation. Picturing motivation as a whimsical fairy fluttering into our lives with glittering magical dust is a nice thought, isn't it? Unfortunately, the reality is much more drab. If you're out there waiting for this fabled creature to plop down on your shoulder and whisper grand ideas into your ear. Let me save you the time. She's not showing up. Many of us fall into this trap of thinking we need to feel motivated before we act. It's as if we believe the moment we wake up inspired, everything will seamlessly align. Spoiler alert, it doesn't work that way. When I look back on my own life, I can recount endless times I sat paralyzed on the couch, waiting for a spark of motivation, only to find myself 3 hours deep into a snack binge. Thank you, Netflix, for the distraction. The truth is that waiting for motivation to hit is akin to relying on a flickering light bulb, unreliable and often dim. What we really need instead is to understand that action breeds motivation, not the other way around. Now, here's where things take a fun turn. Discipline often gets a bad rap, doesn't it? It sounds stern and rigid, much like a school principal with a ruler. But in reality, discipline is what helps us in moments when inspiration has gone on vacation, or worse, has moved to another country entirely. Picture this. I once decided to lose a few pounds, and in a moment of sheer delusion, I thought a sudden wave of inspiration would lead me to do an hour-long workout. Instead, I ended up with a bag of potato chips and a strong commitment to standing still on the couch. Such discipline, right? The kicker is learning to show up even when the motivation meter is hovering dangerously close to empty. It's the small, consistent acts, like dragging yourself out of bed and doing 5 minutes of yoga, that build the muscle you need to keep going, much like exercise for your body. Embracing discipline means you decide that showing up is more important than waiting to feel inspired, and that's where the magic really happens. As you navigate this journey of self-improvement, consider implementing a simple practice. Schedule non-negotiable tasks in your day. Set a time for them, just like you would for an appointment. It doesn't matter if you feel motivated or not, you're going to follow through. The world won't end if you miss a show or a scroll on social media. This tiny adjustment could be the game changer in shifting your focus from waiting for a fairy to hard-earned discipline. Self-discipline with a dash of sarcasm. Self-discipline is the unsung hero of success, lurking in the corner, waiting to be acknowledged while distractions throw a party around it. Picture this. It's Monday morning, and you have a to-do list as long as a CVS receipt. Yet there I am, scrolling through cat memes on the internet, pondering the profound implications of what color socks I should wear. You see, self-discipline is that pesky little voice in your head telling you that scrolling for another hour isn't going to help you finish that project, even when the siren call of procrastination sings sweetly. You start with good intentions, like everyone promising to eat healthy after the holidays. But then life happens. Suddenly, the allure of Netflix and a couch that has molded itself perfectly to your backside is simply too much to resist. Ironically, this resistance to self-discipline is more contagious than your friend's obsession with avocado toast. Self-discipline is that little jealous monster staring at procrastination and saying, "Hey, I deserve some attention too." So how does one cultivate self-discipline without feeling like a monk in a vow of silence? Enter cheeky strategies that ensure you don't lose your sense of humor or humanity. Let's be real. If self-discipline had a Tinder profile, it would probably read, "Looking for someone to control their cravings for distraction. Must enjoy long walks to the desk and resisting the urge to binge-watch entire seasons." Embrace your imperfections. Start small. Turn those epic aspirations into baby steps. Instead of saying, "I will write my novel today," aim for, "I will write 1 paragraph." After all, even Shakespeare didn't sit down and write Hamlet in one go. Just think about the sequel waiting to happen. Allow yourself quirky rewards. Perhaps a 2-minute dance party to your favorite guilty pleasure song after ticking something off the list. Treat your goals like the special dinner you never get around to. Just set the table and enjoy a bite-sized piece of the cake instead of waiting for an elaborate feast. This way, self-discipline and joy can coexist, and you won't end up eating an entire cake of guilt all at once. As you tread these murky waters of self-control, remember that it's okay to get derailed. Even the best plans often lead to the coffee shop instead of the desk. What matters is how you respond when you hit that wall. Replace self-judgment with curiosity. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? It's like being a detective, except instead of looking for clues in a murder mystery, you're investigating your own tendencies to avoid work. If we can approach self-discipline with a sprinkle of self-compassion and perhaps a dose of sarcasm, it becomes a little less daunting. You're not merely a procrastinator. You are an evolving mastermind in the art of time management. So the next time you catch yourself in the act of neglecting your goals, laugh it off, share a sarcastic quip with yourself, and get back on track with a smile. After all, in the grand scheme of life, it's the little victories that pave the way to bigger successes. And if all else fails, there's always the joyful embrace of a pizza. Just remember to check in with your plans afterward. Chapter 5. Get bored with greatness. Why consistency is boring and necessary. Greatness often looks like a collection of mundane actions, repeated day in and day out, without any flair. Consider the best athletes, the top chefs, or even the most successful business moguls. They don't just show up and dazzle us every once in a while. Instead, they labor over the basics. They put in the hours practicing the same routines, sharpening their skills with the finesse of a watchmaker crafting a fine timepiece. It's true, many of our heroes in various fields have mastered the art of consistency, relying on tireless repetition to hone their crafts. So, the next time you see someone who seems to glide effortlessly to greatness, remember that beneath the surface lies a steady stream of often mundane, bone-dry efforts that most people overlook. The trick, however, is to cheerfully embrace the dullness of those everyday actions. It sounds tedious, I know, but that's precisely where the magic lies. Building something magnificent often requires you to find joy in the little things, in the repetition. It's the daily calibration of effort that compounds over time, leading to breakthroughs that make you want to shout from the rooftops. Think about painting. You don't just pick up a brush one day and produce a masterpiece. You layer paint after paint, day after day, and sometimes you mess it up hilariously, creating splotches that look like a toddler's art project. But that's part of the journey. It's easy to dismiss the boring, but therein lies the foundation of achievement. So, embrace your dull, monotonous routines. They have the power to build your dreams if you let them. To truly savor the beauty of consistency, reflect on your own life. What small actions can you repeat day after day that will lead to growth? Maybe it's reading a few pages of a book each night, writing in a journal, or even committing to just 10 minutes of exercise. As mundane as these actions may seem, with time, they have the potential to shape your reality in ways you never anticipated. The magic unfolds right there in the monotony. So instead of seeking the next exhilarating thrill, lean into that steadiness. Find a rhythm, get comfortable with the bore, and watch the glimmers of magnificence start to reveal themselves. You'll be amazed at what unfolds when you consistently show up for yourself, day after day. Working hard in silence while everyone else is posting. Success often looks like a bright, bustling intersection filled with traffic, noise, and flashing lights. Everyone seems to be there, showcasing their lives in vivid detail, crafting the perfect posts that scream for attention. Yet, nestled in the quieter corners away from this chaos, you find the true path to achievement. It's not about the number of likes or the applause you receive from the digital crowd. Instead, it's about the hours spent in focused solitude, sharpening your skills and mind. This journey often goes unnoticed. The late nights consumed by learning, the early mornings filled with planning, all while others are busy curating their online personas. It's tempting to get sidetracked by the need for instant gratification through social media. However, the real winners, the ones who eventually stand quietly successful, know that transformation happens when no one is watching. They grind when it's just them and their ambitions, choosing to grow and improve rather than seek validation. Let me paint you a picture from my not-so-distant past. There was a time when my idea of hard work was binge-watching motivational videos while half-heartedly scrolling through social media. I convinced myself that just by watching the success stories, I was somehow setting the stage for my own. Spoiler alert, that did not work out too well. One day, after catching up on an unusually long series of How I Made $1 Million in 6 Months videos, I decided it was time to don my grinding hat. So there I was, my lunch composed of cold pizza and an avalanche of self-help books stacked high on my desk, every inch screaming potential greatness while I contemplated if my next snack break was merely a sign of procrastination. You could say I was a dedicated student of the grind, crammed in my tiny apartment, sometimes losing track of time as I battled with my keyboard like it was the only opponent I ever wanted to defeat. Who said working hard in silence was glamorous? A significant portion of my life was spent wrestling with my fitness goals, treading the fine line between dedicated and just plain desperate. There were days I'd post a picture at the gym, only to spend the next hour goofing off with friends, because let's be real, those temptation desserts never stood a chance against our laughter-filled conversations. It's this mix of seriousness and absurdity that defined my transition. The reality is that there will always be times when the grind feels far less appealing, especially when others seem to be enjoying the fruits of attention while you're tucked away, focused and humbled in your silent hustle. Here's the takeaway: work in silence, and when you finally find your voice, let it thunder with the strength of all those quiet moments combined. Make those late nights and long hours your fuel, not your burden. It's like that old saying: success doesn't come to those who wait, it comes to those who work while others are waiting. Embrace the grind, and remember, every moment behind the scenes is a building block for the applause you'll one day receive. So, while others scroll and post away, keep your eyes on your own path and craft your unique story, brick by brick. Stacking bricks as a metaphor for daily discipline. Every dream you have is like a beautiful wall made of bricks, and each brick is a small effort, a daily choice, or a disciplined action toward that dream. When you think about building something great, it can feel overwhelming, like staring at a massive stack of bricks wondering how you'll ever get started. But the truth is, it's not about how quickly you can pile them on. It's about consistently placing one after the other, day after day. Each small step counts. Imagine diligently laying each brick with intention, whether it's waking up a bit earlier to write, practicing that instrument for just a few extra minutes, or spending time learning something new. These efforts might seem insignificant in isolation, but over time, they become the foundation of something substantial. It's the daily discipline of stacking those bricks that transforms dreams into tangible realities. You don't need to be perfect. Just start stacking and let those bricks become your guide. Lately, I've found myself chuckling at the notion of progress and setbacks. It's like I'm carrying a brick. Let's say it's a lovely red one, representing my goal for the week. I bend to place it carefully on my wall of dreams, but in my enthusiasm, I accidentally knock over a few others that were precariously balanced. It's so relatable, isn't it? We all have days where we feel like we're shaping our lives, and then, boom, a misstep, a missed deadline, or a forgotten commitment sends some bricks tumbling down. But here's the kicker: knocking those bricks over isn't a failure, it's part of the process. Each time your carefully constructed wall of aspirations comes down, it reminds you that you're still learning, still growing. Just like any seasoned bricklayer, pick those bricks up, dust them off, and place them back where they belong. Recognize that every fall is an opportunity to build stronger, to fine-tune your technique, and ultimately to understand that progress isn't linear. It's messy, chaotic, and oh so essential. The journey of stacking bricks becomes richer with every experience and anecdote you encounter. Each misplaced brick teaches you something new, about resilience, about commitment, about what it truly means to pursue a goal. Today's nuggets of wisdom are often hidden in yesterday's mistakes. So, as you stack your bricks, take a moment to reflect on the lessons you've gathered. Have a laugh at the bricks you've knocked over, and remember that every single effort, every tiny placement, contributes to the solid structure of your dreams. The next time life nudges your carefully placed bricks and sends them tumbling down, just remember, stacking bricks isn't about being perfect. It's about the courage to keep laying them one at a time, knowing that each day is a chance to build something remarkable. Chapter 6. Stop trading time for dollars. The illusion of job security. It's easy to fall into the trap of believing that a steady paycheck equates to job security. Picture this. You're sitting at your desk, coffee in hand, wearing your favorite sweater, and everything feels stable. Your job has become a comfy sweater on a chilly day. But just like a nasty surprise in your laundry basket, life has its own way of tossing in a curveball when you least expect it. Just ask someone who has been downsized for no reason other than the company's bottom line needing a little boost, or the coworker who realized their office chair might not be as cushy as they thought when the company got taken over. Job security, my friend, is more illusion than fact. Life can change in the blink of an eye. One email can change it all. The truth is, a steady paycheck may provide comfort, but it often masks a deeper truth. We are not as secure as we think. History is littered with stories of people who thought they had it all figured out until they didn't. Perhaps they trusted a job they thought would last forever, only to be faced with outsourcing, layoffs, or corporate mergers. The irony is that organizations are constantly evolving, and your role could feel like running a marathon in place, exhausting, and without really getting anywhere. In the end, your job is much like that weird sweater. A little too warm one minute, and then but painfully snug, reminding you that flexibility might be your best bet. Imagine your job as a tightrope walker. You wear a bright costume and juggle flaming swords while you tiptoe across a high wire, with the crowd cheering for you. It looks glamorous, right? But the reality is you're balancing over a pit of alligators with a neck cramp and an intense awareness of gravity. That's the paradox of job security. You show up every day, putting on a brave face, pretending you're in control, while inside you're thinking, if I make one wrong step, I'm history. This tightrope act is especially true for those in roles that are always in flux. Just ask anyone in tech or creative industries. While the feeling of security is as enticing as a bottomless cup of coffee, it's crucial to cultivate adaptability and resilience. Remember, even the highest-paid tightrope walker has to be ready to jump to the ground if the wire snaps. So, take a moment to reflect. Look around, assess your situation, and think about ways you can add skills or experiences that truly bolster your ability to keep walking, even if the tightrope shifts beneath your feet. Building skills that pay you in your sleep. Diversifying your skill set isn't just a smart move. It's an essential strategy for generating passive income. Imagine waking up to find that your bank account has had a little jolt while you were dreaming of that double cheese pizza. Yes, folks, I'm talking about the magic of earning money while you snooze. Gone are the days when the only way to make a living meant putting in hours at the grindstone. The beauty of developing multiple skills is that it opens doors to income sources that keep rolling in, even when you're tucked in, drooling on your pillow. Think of it like planting a garden. The more seeds you sow, whether they're in web design, writing, or even that quirky side hustle you think nobody will appreciate, the more chance you have for flourishing growth. A diverse skill set doesn't just bring in cash. It creates multiple streams, reducing risk, and giving you the freedom to be a bit more, well, you, without the constant worry of financial insecurity. Let's dive into some real-world examples that illustrate how ordinary folks have cracked the code of earning cash without the relentless tick of the hourly wage clock. Take my friend Lisa, for instance. She started off like most of us, trading hours for dollars at her 9 to 5. One day, while scrolling aimlessly on social media, because hey, sometimes you need a break from spreadsheets, she stumbled upon photography. Instead of letting the spark fade, she invested her weekends in honing her skills. Fast forward a year, and she's not just snapping pics. She's selling prints online and raking in extra cash. Now every time someone buys a print, she eats toast for breakfast instead of ramen, all while enjoying her beauty sleep. Then there's Mike, who turned his guitar hobby into an online course. He recorded lessons, uploaded them, and before he knew it, people from all around the globe were signing up. While he indulges in Netflix binges, the money flows in from his course sales. These stories of Lisa and Mike go to show that it is possible to create something that does the work for you while you put your feet up and relax. Not everyone needs to revolutionize the industry or invent the next Facebook. Sometimes it's simply about identifying what you love, what skills you have, and how you can leverage them into passive income. Take a moment to think about your own skills. Maybe you're a whiz at knitting, have a tendency to whip up delightful desserts, or are secretly a social media genius. Those interests can be turned into opportunities. In today's digital age, the possibilities are virtually limitless. And remember, the goal here isn't merely to fill your pockets. It's to reclaim your time. So the next time you're about to hit the snooze button for an extra 10 minutes, consider this. That time could be spent learning a new skill that earns you money while you drift off into dreamland. The key takeaway: start exploring and nurturing those skills. You never know, your next nap might just fund your dream vacation. Wealth isn't about hourly wages, it's about value creation. True wealth is not simply a figure on your paycheck, it's the impact you make on the world around you. When you shift your mindset from earning hourly wages to creating value that enriches others, you set yourself on a path to long-term fulfillment and financial success. Think about it. Every time you help someone solve a problem or fulfill a need, you're generating wealth, not just for yourself, but for everyone involved. This value creation fosters relationships, opens doors, and builds a strong community. It propels you into a mindset where you start to see opportunities, not obstacles, and this perspective shift often leads to innovation and growth. By embracing a long-term mindset, you can focus on how your unique skills and passions can serve others, which ultimately leads to a richer, more rewarding life. Let me share a couple of lightbulb moments that completely shifted my focus from income to impact. One day, a friend of mine, let's call him Dave, invited me to speak at a local business meetup. I was nervous, thinking about how I could dazzle the audience with my perfect sales pitch. Instead, I delivered an off-the-cuff talk about how I had failed at many things, including my attempts to build a business just for cash. People actually started to lean in, nodding as I shared my stories. I realized that by being vulnerable and sharing my failures, I was creating a connection that was more valuable than any paycheck. That's when it hit me. Wealth is created through relationships and real connections, not solely through transactions. Another moment came when I volunteered at a community center, teaching kids how to code. I went in thinking, I'll teach them a skill, and that'll be great. But as I watched their eyes widen with excitement, I realized I was learning just as much, if not more, from them. Their energy and enthusiasm were infectious. This wasn't just a way to pass on knowledge, it was about inspiring the next generation. That's when I truly understood. Every moment spent enriching others is a moment well invested. The heart of value creation lies in those connections. Your wealth will grow proportionately to the value you provide others. Start looking for ways to create value today. Ask yourself how your skills or passions can be used to benefit someone else. It can be as simple as mentoring someone or as complex as launching a product that meets a real need. Remember, the currency of true wealth isn't in dollars and cents, but in the value you can generate. Focus on that and watch your life transform in ways you never imagined. Chapter 7. Rich People Problems. They're better than broke people problems. The humor and truth in earning financial problems. Life has a funny way of turning financial struggles into something akin to a sitcom, where the script is written by an unfunny accountant with an absurd sense of humor. Once upon a time, your biggest worry may have been scraping together enough change for a bagel, and now you find yourself sweating over the merits of investing in artisanal coffee beans versus sticking to the good old regular brew. It's like climbing a ladder, only to realize you've gotten stuck on the rungs of excess, all while the ground looks back at you with a bemused smile, as if to say, remember when you just needed to pay the rent? This shift from mere survival to managing what could be dubbed excessive problems is worth a hearty laugh. You start keeping tabs on things like who can fly first class without blinking an eye, or whether it's socially acceptable to pick the fancy option at the restaurant. The ridiculousness sets in when you realize that true financial stress is surprisingly versatile. It can be comically lightweight, turning the act of deciding between luxury and necessity into a sort of twisted game show called Who Wants to Be a Financially Responsible Adult? And despite it all, these moments can be quite illuminating. They remind us not just how far we've come, but also that the art of money management can be an unscripted comedy. There's a peculiar humor baked into looking back at our former selves while perched atop our current financial situations. Here we are, wiser and ostensibly wealthier, yet still sweating the small stuff like a high-stakes poker game where the stakes are simply too much avocado toast on our brunch tab. It's almost laughable, really. The self-checkout line at the grocery store becomes an unexpected arena where we debate if buying organic quinoa somehow translates to being a better human being, or at least a more responsible one, in our own minds. Next time you're caught in a financial quandary, consider this. Your worries may be a reflection of your growth, but they can also be an opportunity for a good laugh. Perhaps the trick lies not in fretting over ever-increasing expenses, but in reminding ourselves that these moments of excess can be necessary for growth. Funny, even if you look at them just right. Why chasing luxury without foundation leads to disaster. Ambition can be a double-edged sword. It's exhilarating to chase after the dream car, the designer handbag, or the lavish vacation that you've seen on social media. But here's the kicker. Without a solid foundation, those shiny luxuries can be akin to trying to build a castle on quicksand. Sometimes, we get so caught up in the glitz and glamour that we forget about the essentials, like financial stability or emotional resilience. Take, for instance, the story of Larry, a young professional who landed a cushy job right out of college. He quickly fell down the rabbit hole of credit card debt, buying expensive furniture and splurging on trendy eateries rather than saving or investing. It wasn't long before he found himself in a financial mess, struggling to pay off those luxuries that offered him little more than momentary joy. Larry's tale isn't unique. Many fall for the glimmer of luxury without realizing the inevitable downfall that awaits when the underlying structure is weak. Building a strong foundation doesn't have to be boring. In fact, it can be downright exciting. Think of it like creating a warm, comfy home before you throw a fabulous party. Take the time to save, invest, and learn the ropes of financial literacy. When you create a sustainable base, the luxuries that come later will feel all the more rewarding. Consider Sarah, who chose to live frugally in her early 20s by sharing an apartment and cooking at home while investing in her education. She didn't buy that luxury car until she had a stable job and a solid savings account. When she finally made the purchase, it wasn't just another car. It represented years of hard work and smart choices. Now, each time she steps into that car, she feels a sense of accomplishment that no amount of debt-induced luxury could ever provide. It's about taking things step by step, ensuring that each joy you add to your life sits comfortably on the rock-solid ground of your achievements. The joy of luxury is only meaningful when layered on top of steadfast stability. It's easy to get sidetracked and lose sight of what truly matters. Real growth stems from patience, resilience, and a long-term mindset. So as you dream of those luxurious perks, focus first on strengthening your foundation, and when the time comes to add those indulgences, they'll feel like the cherry on top, a sweet reward for your dedication and hard work. Life becomes a wonderful balance of aspiration and reality when you prioritize building yourself up before seeking external validations. You're broke but wearing Gucci? Picture this. A friend of mine walks into a cafe wearing a Gucci belt, the kind that practically screams, "I spent a month's rent on this." But behind that flashy accessory lies a bank account teetering on empty. It's like putting lipstick on a pig. No matter how much you dress it up, it's still a pig. As he sips his coffee, he tells me he can't afford dinner later with his family. But that belt? Totally non-negotiable. It's funny, and yet it's more than a little sad. The irony is palpable, like wearing shades indoors because you're too afraid of reality. We often get caught up in this cycle of needing to project an image of success while quietly drowning in debt. The truth is, that belt doesn't add value to your life. It merely distracts from the bigger picture, your financial health. Investing wisely is about prioritizing what truly matters instead of chasing status symbols. It's time to ask yourself a tough question. When was the last time you actually enjoyed one of those high-priced items? It's all about value, real value. Finding satisfaction in experiences rather than possessions can lead to a wealthier, more fulfilling life. Imagine investing that money in a skill, education, or even a simple trip that creates lasting memories. You'll find that a day spent learning to cook a new recipe or hiking in nature will resonate far deeper than a fleeting moment of showing off a designer handbag. So take a step back, evaluate what you spend your money on, and let go of what doesn't add value. Because at the end of the day, it's not what you wear that defines you. It's how you invest in yourself and your future. Remember, wealth isn't just about what's in your wallet, but what's in your heart and mind. Consider this. Next time you're about to splurge on an item that screams status, ask yourself if you'd rather invest that cash in something that brings you real joy or helps you grow. Prioritize experiences and skills over the glittering allure of luxury, and you'll find yourself rich in a way that no designer label can ever replicate. Chapter 8. Get Rich Slow, Fast Never Works. The Fallacy of Instant Riches. Diving into the tempting allure of get-rich-quick schemes often feels like peeling back the layers of a gooey candy wrapper. At first, it's all glitz and glamour, but peel a little deeper, and you find it's mostly air. You know the ones. The flashy ads promising huge returns if you just invest in this hot new cryptocurrency or this perfect real estate opportunity. It all looks so appealing, yet more often than not, it fizzes out faster than soda left open overnight. What is it about these schemes that draws us in? Perhaps it's the idea of bypassing hard work, or maybe it's just the desire for a shortcut to those dazzling Instagram lifestyles we're bombarded with. The reality is that behind every easy money promise lies a mountain of risk, disappointment, and usually a healthy dose of regret. Most who dive headfirst into these ventures find themselves drowning in financial missteps while still dreaming of that elusive pot of gold. It's easy to get wrapped up in the chase for instant riches, but understanding that true wealth is a marathon, not a sprint, can transform our approach. Reflecting on my own misadventures reminds me to approach financial growth with patience and intention. Every setback is a setup for a comeback, and sometimes learning to be content with the journey can lead to richer rewards than any quick cash grab. So, as you navigate through the tempting world of instant riches, remember that building something meaningful often takes time, effort, and a pinch of humility. Shift your focus from looking for quick wins to nurturing long-term growth, and you might just find that the real treasure lies in the lessons learned throughout the process. Compounding, the eighth wonder of those who think. Compound interest is one of those wildly astonishing financial concepts that can confuse even the sharpest among us. It's like magic, really. You put in a little bit of money, then leave it alone for a while, and like the good old gardening tips our parents used to give us, if you tend to it properly over time, it grows and grows. In essence, you're not just earning interest on your initial investment, but you're also earning interest on the interest itself. That's compounding at work. Now, some might think that you need a fancy calculator or a degree in finance to grasp this concept, but here's the scoop. If you can grasp how a snowball grows as it rolls down a hill, you can understand compounding. Just like that snowball, your initial investment gathers speed and size as time passes, propelling you toward financial freedom, one small investment at a time. The magic of compounding is best understood through everyday experiences. Imagine you decide to eat a slice of cake every day for a month. At first, just a few crumbs seem innocuous, but after a while, those crumbs become entire layers. You'd be surprised how quickly, like that cake, your money can grow if you keep reinvesting your earnings. Think of it this way. It's not just about the money you throw into your savings account. It's also about letting the money you've already earned do some heavy lifting while you sit back and enjoy a slice of life. Compounding thrives on time and patience. It's the tortoise versus the hare all over again, where slow and steady wins the race, not just in terms of investments, but in a broader life context. Now, here's a practical tip. It's never too early to start. Even if you think you don't have much to invest, every little bit counts. This is where the true wonder of compounding shines. If you start putting away just a few bucks each week, over time, you'll find that it builds into something much larger. So, go grab that coffee, put away a few dollars, and let the beauty of compounding do its thing. You can consider it a sweet investment, not just for your wallet, but for your future self, who will undoubtedly thank you later. How patience is the secret weapon of the wealthy. Building wealth is not a sprint. It's more like a leisurely stroll through a beautiful park, provided you manage to avoid the temptation to race ahead. Let me take you back to a time when my own impatience got the best of me. I was convinced that investing in stocks was my golden ticket, so I dived in headfirst. Armed with a $1,500 tax refund, I chose the most volatile stocks I could find, thinking I was the next Warren Buffett. Spoiler alert, I was wrong. My impatience led to a series of hasty decisions, and before I knew it, I was watching my surefire investments plummet faster than my high school GPA during finals week. The lesson: those who take their time and think things through often reap the rewards, while those of us in a hurry find ourselves bemoaning our choices over an extra-large slice of regret pie. Embracing a long-term view is essential for building a solid financial foundation. It's all too easy to get caught up in the allure of instant gratification, whether it's the latest gadget or a flashy new car. I once splurged on a shiny new smartphone, convinced it would change my life. Within months, I realized that while the phone was impressive, the debt it created was less than thrilling. Financial freedom is not found in spur-of-the-moment decisions, but rather in patience and discipline, weathering the storms of temptation while keeping our eyes on the prize. Think of the wealthy individuals who built empires. They didn't do it by waiting for the next big trend to hit. They invested in themselves and their vision, one thoughtful step at a time. Practicing patience and staying committed to long-term goals allows you to avoid the traps of living for the next shiny object. If you can cultivate that patience and resist the easy path, you'll find yourself on a journey that rewards you richly. While the road may be long and sometimes frustrating, set a course for your future and stick to it. Remember that building wealth isn't just about accumulating money. It's about making wise choices and allowing those choices to compound over time. A practical tip: keep a list of your long-term goals visible, perhaps on your fridge or phone, so every time you feel the itch to act impulsively, you can take a moment to pause and reflect. Your future self will thank you for that moment of patience today. Chapter 9. Multiple streams, not multiple screams. Side hustles, investing, and building assets. Income can flow from many sources beyond your standard 9-to-5, and exploring these alternatives can offer both financial benefits and personal fulfillment. Side hustles have become an essential part of the modern financial landscape, allowing people to tap into their passions while earning extra money. Whether it's freelance writing, making crafts to sell online, or consulting in your area of expertise, these streams can be both various and rewarding. The trick is to find something that fits seamlessly into your life without tipping your sanity scales. Balancing your day job with a side project is like walking a tightrope. You need to maintain your focus and not let one area overshadow the other. The aim is to increase your income while also enhancing your skills or pursuing something that sparks joy. After all, who wouldn't want to earn money doing something they love or at least tolerate? Just remember, every project comes with its own set of challenges and responsibilities. It's about striking a balance and knowing when to call it quits on a venture that drains your energy. Speaking of drained energy, let's talk about my own ventures that flopped spectacularly. I once thought I could transform my insatiable love for coffee into a business. I set up a casual coffee of the month subscription, convinced that my friends would be lining up to receive artisanal brews from my kitchen. Turns out, coffee-loving friends prefer sipping their favorite blends at cafes, not a groggy pitch from yours truly at 7 a.m. After whipping up a few awkward sales pitches and crafting a subpar website, the project rapidly became a caffeine-fueled disaster. Each month of subscription dwindled down to a single reluctant pal, bravely sipping that last batch of my peculiar home-roasted beans as I realized that maybe the world wasn't ready for my unique coffee blends. What did I learn? Well, aside from the fact that not all of my ideas are lucrative, I learned the importance of market research. Don't just dive in. Check if there's actually demand before steering your ship toward a broken promise of prosperity. Every misstep in your side hustle journey offers invaluable lessons, or at least fodder for a good laugh later. One of the most critical takeaways is to maximize your strengths, but also be aware of your weaknesses. It's essential to choose a venture that complements your lifestyle and doesn't rob you of joy. Mistakes are just stepping stones on the marathon to build your own wealth. When you're thinking of side hustles, do it with an eye on building assets over time. Perhaps it's starting an online course that leverages your professional experience or investing in property that appreciates over time. Focus on laying down the groundwork now. Remember, each small effort counts in creating bigger opportunities. So, while you navigate the ups and downs of side hustling, keep a journal of your experiences. Reflecting on your journey provides both perspective and motivation, helping you cultivate a strategy that aligns with your ultimate financial goals. Why most people get overwhelmed. Analysis paralysis can creep up on anyone. It's that moment when you have a million things swirling in your head, and instead of turning those thoughts into action, you sit frozen, staring at a wall or your smartphone, scrolling, but going nowhere. I know this feeling all too well. There are days when life throws so much at you that instead of taking a step forward, you feel like you're stuck in quicksand. You start looking at all the directions you could go in, but every choice feels daunting. Trust me, trying to juggle too many ambitions at once can feel like attempting to perform magic tricks. You're just one misstep away from dropping all your balls. In this state, we often think that taking on more is the secret to success. Yet, the truth is that this mindset often leads to stress and hardly any results. We mistakenly count overwhelm as a sign of ambition, when really, it's just the body's intuitive response telling us to pump the brakes. So, how do you escape this whirlwind of indecision? Simple strategies can lead to big changes without the accompanying hair loss or existential crises. Start by focusing on just one thing. Maybe it's tackling an online course or setting up a side gig. Whatever it is, keep it small. Instead of trying to launch a full-blown business overnight, think of adding a little sprinkle here and there, like seasoning to your favorite recipe. Break down your larger goal into tasty bite-sized pieces. Instead of overwhelming yourself with the prospect of multiple income streams, consider setting one up first. Once that's rolling, add another to your plate. This isn't about racing, it's about taste testing. Leverage what you learn from each step to inform the next move, allowing those tiny successes to build your confidence and keep the momentum flowing. The key is to gather experience and build on it, kind of like stacking blocks. One wouldn't try to build a tower of 30 blocks all at once, or it would come crashing down, right? As you take these baby steps, track your progress and celebrate the little victories, even if it's what feels like the smallest of milestones. It's these moments that become the wind in your sails, pushing you forward. For instance, if you manage to sell your first item online or make your first dollar, treat it like a mini celebration. buy yourself a brownie, or take a moment to dance like no one's watching. These positive reinforcements create a cycle of motivation and productivity. It's all about finding rhythm, pacing yourself, and realizing it's a journey, not a sprint. So breathe, break it down, and remember, you're not trying to conquer the world in a day. You're building your empire, one tiny brick at a time. And in the chaos of our hustling lives, mindfulness can be your greatest weapon against feeling overwhelmed. Refocus, breathe, and keep it simple. Your dreams deserve that kind of attention. The methodical way to build wealth without burning out. Building wealth doesn't have to feel like dragging a boulder uphill in a snowstorm. A systematic approach helps break down the process into manageable chunks. Start with clarity. What does wealth mean to you? For some, it's about having a cozy cabin in the woods. For others, it's jetting off to Paris whenever the mood strikes. Defining your personal vision is the compass guiding you through your journey. Once you've grounded your definition, dive into understanding your financial habits. Get cozy with your spending patterns. Scribble them down on a napkin if you have to. Know where your money flows, and you'll see opportunities to redirect it towards building your wealth. Instead of cutting out those soy lattes entirely, consider how to make small adjustments. Maybe it's down to getting them only 3 days a week or switching to a less fancy cafe, allowing you to stack a couple of bucks while still enjoying your daily ritual. Next, cultivate a savings routine that fits effortlessly into your life. That might look like the classic 50/30/20 rule, where you allocate your income into needs, wants, and savings, or it could mean setting aside a dollar amount each week until you accidentally start looking forward to that wealth jar. And while we're on the topic of jars, here's a thought. Can you make saving a bit of a game? Count your coins, toss them in, and before you know it, you've got a mini treasure chest awaiting you. Allow yourself to celebrate small milestones along the way. A fancy dinner out or a quirky little gift can act as great motivators to keep you moving forward. We can talk strategies until the cows come home, but let's face it, commitment is the real meat and potatoes of wealth building. It requires time, grit, and sometimes a hefty spoonful of humor to keep from treating it like a chore. Imagine this. You're at a diner, and you've just ordered a pancake stack that's way bigger than you anticipated. At first, you're all excited. Oh, delicious, fluffy goodness. But soon, you realize you can't finish it without some serious commitment. In the same way, building a financial portfolio requires tackling those layers one bite at a time. Resilience matters, but if you can bring a bit of laughter and a light heart into the grind, the journey becomes a tad sweeter. Share your financial neon moments with friends, laugh at your budgeting failings as much as your successes, and you'll navigate setbacks with grace and a giggle. Understand that this path can feel like a game of whack-a-mole. Just when you think you've got everything sorted, something else pops up. Maybe the roof leaks, or your car makes a noise that suggests it may soon turn into a science experiment rather than a mode of transport. This is where humor shines its light. Making jokes about a flat tire or forgetting to pay a bill can keep stress at bay, allowing you to reframe challenges as mere bumps in the road instead of insurmountable mountains. As you build your portfolio, recognize that it's okay to stumble, to laugh at your own foolishness, and to keep moving forward as you gather your wealth, one quirky experience at a time. Remember to give yourself grace, and don't be afraid to bring play into the process. After all, building wealth shouldn't feel like an exhausting grind. It should be more like a delightful roller coaster ride, with all its twists, turns, and the occasional scream of "Wait, what just happened?" Chapter 10. Integrity Pays Better Than Scams. The Rise of Online Charlatans. In the world of finance, it can feel like you're walking through a carnival filled with glitzy attractions and dubious characters. The shiny ads promising riches often distract us from the more mundane, but vital, principles of sound financial behavior. Ethical players are like the steady Ferris wheel, safe, reliable, and worth the ride. They nurture genuine relationships, emphasize long-term growth, and provide sound advice based on solid fundamentals, rather than flashy gimmicks. In contrast, the unethical players are those barker types at the carnival, luring you in with high-pressure tactics and impossible promises. They thrive on selling dreams wrapped in promises that are as thin as cotton candy. The reality is that while the allure is strong, the risks are often significant, and you don't want to end up the fool in this financial circus. Every day, we encounter ads that seem too good to be true, and in many cases they are. You'll find sophisticated pitches from folks who claim they can guarantee returns that you'd normally only hear in bedtime stories. A well-established principle is that if something sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Always remember that even when you hear whispers of hurry, this offer won't last. Real opportunities tend to stand the test of time, not vanish as if by magic. So, take a moment to question the underlying motives behind these shiny promises. Research the individuals backing these schemes. Check their credentials, experiences, and most importantly, reviews from past clients or customers. Scrolling through social media these days is like watching a stand-up comedy show, except many of the jokes fall flat. Every other post showcases someone flaunting their newfound wealth, living it up in exotic locales while casually advising you to invest in this secret recipe and become a millionaire by lunchtime. The absurdity of it all can be quite entertaining if it weren't so concerning. These ads take over our feeds with slogans and promises that rival those of the shadiest infomercials. Have you seen those irresistible ads featuring a guy with a 10-car garage filled with flashy cars, claiming he learned all his secrets from a week-long internet course? It's enough to make you chuckle and simultaneously cringe as you wonder who could possibly fall for that. But here's the thing, a surprising number of people do. These cringeworthy schemes can seem harmless, but they have a way of leading individuals down a path that can lead them to frustration and financial ruin. It's like watching a movie where the audience knows the main character is about to make a huge mistake, but they just sit there, popcorn in hand, waiting for the inevitable disaster to unfold. The lesson here is to remain vigilant and skeptical. Don't be the enthusiastic participant at this carnival, throwing your money blindly into every bright explosion that catches your attention. Maybe you'll find some genuine opportunities amidst the chaos, but keep your eyes sharp, your instincts honed, and always do your due diligence. Financial wisdom thrives on awareness, and sometimes that means embracing a bit of skepticism in what may seem like a sea of shiny temptations. As a practical tip, cultivate your financial alarm system. Just as a smoke detector alerts you to danger, tune into your intuition when it comes to financial opportunities. If your gut tells you something feels off, take that warning seriously. Research, ask questions, and don't be afraid to dig deeper before investing your hard-earned money. It's okay to be a little skeptical. Often, it's the healthy skepticism that leads you to uncovering real treasures, hidden beneath the gaudy surface of the online landscape. How to be ethical in a dirty market. In a world where the allure of quick gains can be as tempting as a slice of hot pie at a diner, navigating the murky waters of ethical decision-making can feel daunting. Picture this. You're presented with an opportunity that looks good on paper but smells fishy. It's in these moments that your moral compass needs to take the driver's seat. When less than reputable options start whispering sweet nothings, remember that real success isn't just about what you achieve, it's how you achieve it. Aligning your actions with your values will keep you grounded when the going gets tough. Trust me, a consistent track record of integrity will pay dividends in ways that cash can't touch, like respect, reliability, and self-respect. Sure, choosing the high road might mean passing up on an easy win today. But sleeping well at night, knowing you didn't compromise your principles, is the ultimate jackpot. Let's take a moment to reflect on the times I chose to stick to my ethical guns, even when it felt like I was swimming upstream against the current. I remember a point in my career when I was struggling to find my footing. There had been whispers of a lucrative partnership that would have lined my pockets handsomely, but it involved cutting corners that made my stomach turn. Instead of taking the bait, I opted to work harder and seek out clients who aligned with my values. The short-term reward was inarguably less glamorous. I faced late nights, rejection, and my bank account was closer to empty than full. But over time, my reputation built itself on a foundation of trust. Those ethical choices turned the corner, leading me to clients who valued the same principles. What I gained was worth far more than the original deal: ongoing relationships, referrals, and a sense of pride that keeps the sparkle in my eye, even on the dreariest days. Those reflections remind us all that we are the architects of our own ethics. It might not always be easy, especially in a market that sometimes feels like a wrestling ring filled with gimmicks and grandstanding. But look closely at those who have succeeded without compromising their integrity, because their stories often share a single thread: resilience rooted in ethics. They didn't barter their values for a temporary thrill, and as a result, they built something lasting. Remember this the next time you feel pressured to pave over your principles in pursuit of quick success. True prosperity is about aligning your actions with your core beliefs. When you find yourself at a crossroads, ask not just about the potential rewards, but what kind of person you want to be by the end of the journey. Let that be your guiding light, because the richness of life isn't just calculated in dollars and cents. It's found in the relationships you cultivate and the legacy you leave behind. Why character is your best currency. Character is like a fine wine. It takes time to develop, but what a joy it is when it reaches its peak. You might be tempted by the quick fizz of opportunism, but that often leads to headaches, or worse, a sour taste in your mouth. Building character is about making choices that might not pay off immediately, but will yield rich dividends over time. Think about it. When you choose honesty over deceit, generosity over greed, you're not just shaping your own integrity. You're weaving a tapestry of trust with those around you. And that trust, it's invaluable. It opens doors, nurtures relationships, and creates a safety net of support that crass opportunism could never provide. When you invest in character, you are stockpiling experiences that are more meaningful than any fleeting benefit gained by cutting corners. You laugh longer, cry deeper, and find joy in the simple moments, knowing that your interactions are rooted in something real and lasting. Let me share a little story from my own life that illustrates this beautifully. A few years ago, I was struggling to get my first book published. The temptation was there to bend my values, maybe even massage the truth a little. But something in me held back, urging me to stay genuine. One evening, while sitting at a local diner nursing a cup of lukewarm coffee, I struck up a conversation with a writer sitting next to me. It turned out he was an editor with a small publishing house. We swapped stories, shared laughs, and ultimately, he saw the character behind my words. That connection led to my book getting published, but more importantly, it sparked a friendship that has enriched my life ever since. When you invest in people with authenticity, those connections often come back around, like a boomerang flinging joy right back into your hands. It's a reminder that ethical dealings often lead to unexpected friendships and laugh-out-loud moments that fill your life with color. The key takeaway here is to remember that character isn't flashy or immediate. It's a quiet strength that pays off in joyful dividends. Next time you're faced with a choice, think about the long game. Make that call for authenticity and see how the universe rewards you in delightfully unexpected ways. Remember, it's not just about building a career. It's about cultivating a life of connection, laughter, and rich experiences that you'll cherish forever. Chapter 11. Protecting your peace while building your empire. Avoiding burnout and spiritual bankruptcy. Success can't come at the cost of your mental health. Balance is key to a sustainable empire. Imagine building this grand castle only to realize it's built on quicksand, and the bigger your empire grows, the faster it sinks. We live in a world that glorifies hustle, pushing limits, and functioning on caffeine and sheer willpower, but at what cost? Mental health is not just a buzzword. It's the bedrock upon which every successful venture rests. You can chase your dreams only to buckle under the weight of anxiety, stress, and fatigue. Maintaining balance isn't merely a good idea, it's essential. Finding that sweet spot between work and rest is crucial, not only for your sanity, but for the longevity of your endeavors. It's about creating a lifestyle rather than an unsustainable sprint that leaves you gasping for air. Remember, a sustainable empire is built by taking care of the architect. Reflecting on my hustle-filled life, I can't help but chuckle at some ludicrous moments when my ambition veered into overdrive. There was a time when I convinced myself that sleep was for the weak, cramming endless hours of work into every day while buying into the myth that busyness equates productivity. The first time I forgot my own birthday was a wake-up call. Trust me, there's nothing quite as sobering as being reminded by your best friend that you had a cake waiting on the kitchen table. As if that wasn't enough, I mistakenly had a virtual meeting at 3 a.m. because I mismanaged the time zones. My client was a cheery 70-year-old in Hawaii, and there I was, hair a nest of chaos, the clock glaring as if mocking me. These moments were comical in hindsight, but served a vital lesson. I was no good to anyone, including myself, when I was running on empty. Thank goodness I learned to step back, reshuffling my priorities like a bad house of cards and making space for self-care. The truth is, embracing moments of rest and reflection doesn't mean you're slacking. It's an investment in your future self. It's in those quiet times when ideas flourish and creativity rejuvenates. Take yourself out for a coffee break or indulge in that guilty pleasure of binge-watching your favorite show without the weight of deadlines looming over your head. Creating boundaries around your time is paramount. It's okay to say no when your plate is full. You don't want to find yourself piled under a mountain of responsibilities, contemplating if your candle really needs to burn at both ends. Here's the nugget of wisdom. Treat your time as sacred, because it is. Remember, you're the one steering the ship, and sometimes that ship needs to dock for a little rest, or else you risk sailing into dangerous waters. Cultivating balance is not just a goal. It's the foundation of thriving amid life's chaos. Mental health for driven people. Taking care of your mind is as crucial as growing your wealth. It's easy to pour all your energy into climbing the ladder of success, but if you neglect your mental health along the way, you might find yourself at the top with no one to share the view. Think of your mind as that rare vintage car in your garage, fully functional, yet in desperate need of an oil change and a look at the tires before you take it out for a spin. Just as juggling finances requires balance, so does juggling priorities. You can be the creme de la creme of your industry, but if you're running on fumes emotionally, what's the point? If your mind is cluttered and overwhelmed, you can bet that your productivity will mirror that chaos. When you choose to prioritize your mental well-being, you aren't just investing in a happier self. You're also boosting your creativity, enhancing your decision-making skills, and ultimately, paving the way to financial success. The truth is, your ambitions can't thrive in a tired, stressed-out brain. So pull up a chair and sit with this thought. Prioritize your mental health as fiercely as you pursue your career goals, and you might find that making time for self-care actually fuels your drive instead of slowing it down. Now you might be thinking, sure, that sounds great, but how do I actually maintain my mental health while chasing my ambitious dreams? The good news is, it doesn't have to be complicated. Start by incorporating simple, actionable practices into your daily routine. For instance, carve out a few minutes each morning to set your intentions for the day. It's like programming your phone. Without the right settings, you'll just be lost in the apps. Whether it's through meditation, journaling, or even a quiet cup of coffee while glancing at your calendar, take that time to check in with yourself. And let's be real, it's completely okay to take breaks. If you think of your brain like a high-powered engine, it needs cooling down too. When the pressure builds, step away from your desk and go for a walk, do some stretches, or find a quiet corner and breathe. Simple as that. You might even find those moments of clarity lead to some of your best ideas. Finally, don't shy away from seeking help. Talking to a friend or a professional can provide a fresh perspective and relieve an emotional drain that you might not even realize has been weighing you down. Remember, you can't pour from an empty cup, so fill yours with care and compassion. Humor in recognizing burnout signs. Burnout can be sneaky, creeping up on you like a cat eyeing your sandwich from the counter. The signs are often obvious when you can't find your keys or you yell at a sock for not matching. You know you're in trouble when your morning coffee gives you a bout of existential dread instead of the usual pep. When the thought of getting out of bed feels like an extreme sport and you want to cancel all responsibilities to embrace your inner sloth, it might be time for a reality check. If responding to emails feels like deciphering hieroglyphics and scrolling through social media is about as thrilling as watching paint dry, then congratulations, you may have hitched a ride on the Burnout Express. Taking a moment to actually recognize these feelings, rather than just brushing them off as growing pains, or another Tuesday, might be your golden ticket to recovery. There was a time when I thought I could outsmart burnout with sheer willpower. Picture me at my desk, hurling motivational quotes at my computer monitor like confetti. You can do it. I'd chant like a deranged cheerleader while my body whispered sweet nothings of exhaustion. One particularly ambitious Monday, I decided I would work straight through lunch, convinced that my productivity would earn me the title of office hero. Instead, I found myself cradling a stapler for comfort and giving a stern lecture to my lunch break that would leave any motivational speaker weeping with pride. After the fourth cup of coffee, which I swore would turn me into a highly efficient machine, I ended up staring blankly at my screen, debating the merits of forming an alliance with the office plants. The enthusiasm turned into epic failures of concentration, and let's be real, a horrifying email mishap where I accidentally invited the entire office to my dog's birthday party rather than the team meeting about quarterly goals. Who knew a golden retriever's party had such a low attendance rate? These comical mishaps became my bizarre guideposts, indicating that perhaps the best medicine for burnout is a healthy dose of self-awareness, sprinkled with a dash of humor. Recognizing burnout doesn't have to feel like a chore. Think of it as tuning into your body's hilarious, yet informative podcast. You're not just tuning out the distractions, but tuning into the ridiculousness of trying to function while running on empty. It's important to check in with those signs. Maybe treat yourself to a laugh instead of a caffeine jolt. The next time you feel overwhelmed or want to throw a tantrum that rivals a toddler in the candy aisle, take a moment to breathe. Ask yourself what would be genuinely good for you in that moment, whether that means taking a break, having a good laugh, or even just reconnecting with the things that fill your tank instead of draining it. How about setting aside time for a hobby, calling a friend who makes you giggle uncontrollably, or even giving yourself permission to simply do nothing? Because in a world that constantly pushes productivity, sometimes the most productive thing you can do is to step back and say, you know what? I need some joy. And maybe a cookie. Chapter 12. Rich, but not a jerk. How to stay grounded. Humility acts as a quiet anchor in a world that often prizes flashiness and bravado. Personal growth and financial success can be tricky terrains to navigate, especially when ego threatens to steer the ship. Imagine yourself soaring high, achieving goals, or raking in that paycheck you've dreamt about. It's exhilarating, but the moment you start acting like the universe owes you something, you're headed for a nosedive. Everyone loves a success story, but no one appreciates a show-off. Humility cultivates connection rather than isolation. When you remain open to learning and grounded in your roots, you not only attract opportunities, but you also create a space where others feel valued and heard. You become that friend who shares wisdom rather than boasting about achievements, and that's a game changer. The truth is, there's nothing wrong with celebrating success, but it's best to balance your victories with a healthy dose of self-awareness. After all, financial successes come and go, but your ability to relate to others will last longer than any paycheck. I remember feeling on top of the world after receiving a big promotion. I strutted into work like I owned the place, my chest puffed out, radiating confidence that teetered on arrogance. One day, I overheard my colleagues chatting about my new role, and their tone, both respectful and envy-laced, hit me like a splash of cold water. I chuckled inwardly, but that chuckle echoed back at me, reminding me to check my ego. It was then I decided to ditch the show-off mode and embrace a more grounded approach. I began to ask questions instead of boasting about my experiences, learning from those around me as if they were my mentors. A great tip: be genuinely interested in others. Listen to their stories, ask for advice, and watch how your relationships blossom. A little inquiry goes a long way, and it helps keep your ego in its rightful place. Staying grounded is like riding a bike uphill. It takes effort, but the view from the top makes it worthwhile. Recognizing your achievements is fine, but don't forget to acknowledge the bumps and bruises that came with them. Be the person who can laugh at themselves. Trust me, self-deprecating humor is the best remedy for an inflated ego. Reflecting on past blunders reminds me that my journey is always evolving, and that gives me the room to grow. If you ever find yourself slipping into that too-good-to-be-true territory, simply take a deep breath and remind yourself that each success is a stepping stone, not a pedestal. Try keeping a gratitude journal. Each night, jot down moments that made you smile, lessons that challenged you, or the humility that reminded you of your humanity. It offers not just perspective, but an ongoing reminder of the values that keep you rooted, no matter how high you soar. Why gratitude multiplies abundance. A grateful heart enriches life in ways that go far beyond the green stuff we often chase. Picture this. You're sitting across from a friend in your favorite diner, the scent of maple syrup wafting through the air, and they ask you about the best moments of your week. You could rattle off a couple of paychecks, but what if you leaned into a cherished memory instead? Maybe it was a sunset that took your breath away, or a simple phone call from someone you love. Those moments of gratitude drop into your heart, expanding not only your appreciation for what you have, but also your perspective on what truly matters. When you start to recognize these little blessings, it's like a switch flips. Suddenly, money seems less intimidating, and opportunities to find joy are everywhere. The universe rolls out the red carpet for those who take a moment to be thankful. It's a simple act, but gratitude transforms the mundane into something sacred, guiding you down a fulfilling path. Let me share a story that illustrates the magic of gratitude. A friend of mine, let's call him Dave, took the concept of gratitude to heart when things weren't going his way. He was jobless, broke, and feeling sorry for himself, like a soggy pancake. Instead of wallowing, he started jotting down 3 things he was grateful for every morning. It may have started with "I'm grateful for my warm bed," and "I'm grateful for coffee," but over time, the list evolved into deeper insights. He began to notice the tiny things: a smile from a stranger, a bird perched on a branch, or the rain that painted the world in softer hues. One day, that grateful attitude led him to an old high school buddy who happened to have an opening at his firm. Fast forward a few months, and Dave was thriving, and he credits it all to his practice of gratitude. What was initially a desperate attempt to find joy turned into an avalanche of abundance. The more he focused on thankfulness, the more opportunities appeared, like confetti falling from the sky. Gratitude has a cosmic way of attracting circumstances that match the energy you are putting out into the world. A useful takeaway is to incorporate gratitude into your daily routine, like adding an extra shot of espresso to your morning coffee. Set aside a few moments each morning or night to reflect on what you appreciate. You don't need to write books of poetry. Just jot down a few things that light up your heart. The more you train your mind to seek out the good, the more you'll notice how abundant your life truly is. Also, consider sharing these moments with others. A quick thank you note or a sincere compliment can spread good vibes and create a ripple effect of gratitude in your community. Who knows what doors will open when you start living with a grateful heart? Being generous without becoming a doormat. Finding the sweet spot between being generous and maintaining self-respect can feel like trying to balance a plate on your head while standing on one leg. You want to help, to be there for others, but somewhere in the hustle, you risk becoming a doormat. I've been there, letting my kindness stretch so thin that it barely had the strength to hold my own needs. Generosity is a beautiful thing, yet it must coexist with boundaries as firm as a New York deli sandwich. If you're not careful, the same heart that wants to give can end up feeling trampled on. You need to wake up and smell the coffee, put on those sturdy hiking boots of self-respect, and learn to say no politely but firmly, without feeling guilty about it. Embracing generosity while preserving your own well-being does require a bit of strategy, like a chess match where your opponent is your own overextending nature. First, identify your limits early on. Think of it like customizing your coffee order. You wouldn't let the barista add 5 pumps of syrup if you don't want your drink to taste like dessert, right? Set your boundaries and stick to them. Use humor as your shield. If a friend asks you for yet another favor, try a lighthearted joke to diffuse any tension, such as, "I'd love to help you carry that giant potted plant. Should I bring my forklift?" This way, you keep the conversation light while gently saying no. Lastly, learn the power of the polite decline. Practice a simple, "I can't right now, but I appreciate you thinking of me." You'll feel empowered, and your friends will respect your honesty. Generosity is admirable, but remember, you are a generous human being, not a circus act. To truly thrive in generosity without sacrificing yourself, embrace the art of saying no. Practice it in front of the mirror, in a way that feels authentic to you. Your time is valuable, and every yes requires a trade-off. Make sure that the exchange is one that you're willing to embrace. Chapter 13. Teach your kids to be rich in spirit too. Breaking generational poverty cycles. Shifting our mindset is like turning the ship in the water. It might feel small at first, but eventually, it changes our entire course. Generational poverty often seems like this monstrous chain that binds families together, with the whispers of past struggles echoing through each generation. But just as easily as those stories are passed down, new narratives can be woven into existence. Understand that poverty is not a badge of honor, nor is it an inheritance that is carved into stone. It's more like a worn-out pair of shoes that can be stepped out of if you dare to put on something new. A shift in perspective can inspire individuals to dream beyond the horizon, to imagine lives differently, and to actively pursue those dreams, breaking free from the cycles that have kept them anchored to their past. Take a moment and think about the stories that resonate in your family. Every family has them, like that legendary uncle who lost everything because he couldn't stop gambling, or grandparents who pinched every penny until it squeaked. Those stories can sound like shackles. But let's flip the script. There are countless tales of triumph too, stories of people who said, "Not my family, not me," and then turned their lives around. One story that often inspires is of a woman who grew up in a single-parent home, surrounded by constant financial strain. She grew up listening to the phrase, "Money doesn't grow on trees," until she realized that while money doesn't grow on trees, knowledge does bloom like wildflowers in a storm. She immersed herself in learning, breaking the cycle for her children, who no longer grew up viewing money with fear, but rather as a tool to create possibilities. Breaking these cycles often starts with awareness and a commitment to change, leading us to view money, education, and opportunities as choices rather than constraints. Each of us has the power to reshape our familial narratives and plant seeds for future generations. We can choose to make choices that reflect hope rather than despair. Next time you're wrestling with those old stories, ask yourself, how can I plant a story of resilience instead? Consider keeping a journal to document your thoughts, ideas, and the path you're forging. It can serve as a roadmap not only for yourself, but also for anyone who comes after you. Your life could gradually become less about surviving and more about thriving. And that, my friend, is how we start building legacies rather than chains. Financial literacy in the home. Teaching kids about money doesn't have to be a chore. It can be a fun and engaging experience that shapes their understanding for years to come. Start small by introducing them to the concept of money through everyday activities. When you're at the grocery store, let them handle a small amount of your budget. Ask them to help you choose the best value for snacks. This not only teaches them the worth of a dollar, but also reinforces smart shopping habits. The goal isn't to turn them into mini accountants. It's about helping them grasp basic financial concepts that will be invaluable later on. Create opportunities for your children to earn money, even if it means doing extra chores around the house or starting a small lemonade stand in the neighborhood. When they see a tangible reward for their effort, they'll begin to associate hard work with earning. Once they have their own money in hand, guide them through the process of budgeting. Perhaps set up 3 jars, one for spending, one for saving, and one for sharing. This gives them a sense of ownership while teaching them the principles of saving and generosity. Many of us have had our own financial blunders, and I'm no exception. I remember my first paycheck. I felt like I had hit the jackpot, and in my excitement, I splurged on things that seemed essential at the time. A fancy coffee machine, new jeans, and a spontaneous trip to a nearby concert. This was all fun until the reality of my bills hit me harder than a rent notice on the fridge. It took a few months of ramen dinners for me to realize that budgeting was more important than an extravagant lifestyle. Sharing this experience with my kids became an invaluable lesson. Instead of shielding them from the truth about money mistakes, I turned it into a discussion. We laughed about my coffee machine debacle and analyzed how I could have planned better. Life is full of surprises, but teaching them that making mistakes is part of learning helps them embrace finance with a lighter heart. My mother had her own bumps in the financial road. She invested in every get-rich-quick scheme that popped up on late-night television. I vividly remember her sharing stories of her surefire investments, with the excitement of winning the lottery, only to watch our family slowly turn frugal. Instead of hiding these missteps, I shared them with my children, emphasizing the importance of research and caution. We even created a family mantra. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. These anecdotes have turned into teachable moments, showing them that the journey to financial literacy is as much about mistakes as it is about accomplishments. In life, every misstep leads to a lesson. The key is ensuring they learn from them before they have to face the world alone. Use your personal finance stories as springboards into deeper conversations about money management. Teach them that financial literacy isn't about memorizing rules, but understanding decisions and their consequences. Financial wisdom isn't just about facts and figures. It's about fostering a mindset that embraces budgeting, patience, and informed decision-making. Aim to engage your kids with hands-on experiences and genuine conversations that stick with them long after they've left the nest. After all, what better legacy can you leave than the ability to navigate the sometimes murky waters of personal finance with confidence and skill? Wisdom and wit for raising grounded, happy kids. Teaching responsibility isn't just about handing out chores or explaining the importance of doing homework. It's also about setting the stage for your child to learn from their failures while ensuring they feel supported along the way. Picture this: your little one forgets their lunch at home. Sure, it's a disaster in the moment, and the sad puppy eyes are doing a number on your heart. But perhaps, rather than rushing to the rescue each time, You let them experience the mild, temporary chaos of a lunchless day. It's a delicate balance, showing them that failing sometimes is just part of life. This within a safe, nurturing environment allows them to feel the sting of disappointment, yet also provides them the wisdom to try again. Children are remarkably resilient. Sometimes all they need is our trust to allow them to learn and grow. We've got to nurture responsibility, but not at the cost of stifling their ability to rise after a stumble. As they navigate through their little failures, they build their skills, gain resilience, and learn the most valuable lesson of all. They can bounce back. Now let's sprinkle in some laughs because, let's face it, parenting is a delightful circus, and sometimes laughter truly is the best medicine. I remember the time my son tried to bake cookies and ended up with a kitchen that looked like a flour factory exploded. There's something about flour-covered countertops and sugar trails that turns every mom into a reluctant comedian. Instead of getting frustrated, I found myself grabbing my phone to capture this moment of pure chaos. Parenting provides one ridiculous scenario after another. The tantrums, the spills, the inexplicable fascination with putting odd things in their mouths. A real mix of heartwarming and hilarious, isn't it? These experiences teach us that life isn't just about perfection. It's about making mistakes, embracing the mess, and laughing through it all. It's a reminder that joy often hides in the most unexpected places, especially when you can laugh at the absurdity of it all while cleaning up the kitchen that now resembles something out of a disaster movie. The journey of raising kids is truly about creating an environment where they feel secure enough to try, fail, learn, and laugh. Each moment of goofiness and stumbling forward helps shape their understanding of the world. And as we share these whimsical times, we're also instilling a vital lesson. Life is too short to take every moment seriously. Remember to embrace the flaws in your parenting and in your child's journey. When you look back on those mischievous memories, you won't remember the hours spent worrying about every little detail. Instead, you'll smile at the ludicrous moments, the giggles, and the connections that came from those teaching experiences. So when it comes to raising grounded, happy kids, be wise enough to teach responsibility, but always allow for a hearty dose of humor and kindness in the mix. On that note, next time your kid attempts to bake, perhaps consider leaving the oven mitts off. It's bound to provide quality entertainment and perhaps even a few great life lessons blossoming amidst the mess. Chapter 14. The 80-Year Plan. Thinking long-term in a short-term world. We live in a world that glorifies instant gratification, where waiting even a few seconds feels like an eternity. Think about it. Everything from food delivery to social media updates is designed for speed, making us forget there's a bigger picture to consider. You grab that donut because, well, it's just sitting there looking delicious, only to regret it later when those extra calories remind you of their existence on your waistline. It's as if the universe is saying, you want sweet happiness now? Enjoy the sugar crash later. What if, instead of chasing the next bite-sized pleasure, we shifted our perspective? Fostering a vision that goes beyond the now can help us dodge regrets and nurture a future we actually want. When you decide to keep your eye on the long game, small sacrifices become less painful because you know they serve a bigger purpose. You might miss this month's donut shop hype, but think about how wonderful it'll be to fit comfortably in those coveted jeans next summer. I have my own treasure trove of short-term decision disasters, and trust me, I'm practically the poster child for think before you leap. There was a time I thought I could squeeze just a little more fun out of my paycheck by skipping savings for a spontaneous weekend trip. The thrill was undeniable, especially when my friends excitedly packed their bags. But come Monday, as I watched my bank account dwindle like an ice cube in the sun, that thrill faded into sheer panic. The debt I incurred on my credit card looked more like an unbearable albatross around my neck. What did I learn? Short-term thrills can come with long-term bills, both financially and emotionally. Now, when I hear that little voice suggesting a fabulous impulsive purchase, I pause. I remind myself of that one trip filled with laughter, which was eclipsed by the anxiety of mounting credit card bills. I'd rather invest in experiences that build up my savings than ones that only inflate my stress levels. Before making that next impulse decision, especially when it comes to money or health, think about the long-term effect. Will this decision bring joy or regret down the line? Instant gratification may tickle the senses and solve an immediate itch, but long-term thinking leads to lasting fulfillment and peace of mind. When in doubt, ask yourself if you're planting seeds for your future garden or just chasing after the next butterfly. Your future self will either thank you or curse you for it. And remember, every time you resist that temptation today, you're one step closer to a life you can be proud of, one delightful surprise at a time. Death, legacy, and living with purpose. Contemplating mortality might seem like a party crasher at your happy hour of life, but let's be honest, it's the life coach nobody asked for. When you face the reality that one day you won't be here, it forces you to look at your life through a different lens. Instead of hiding behind distractions, you begin to think deeply about what really matters. It's almost like getting a sneak peek at the final exam and deciding you should probably start studying. Understanding that your time is limited nudges you toward making choices that resonate with your core values. It leads you to ask yourself questions like, am I doing what I love? Or am I spending time with the people who make my heart swell? By recognizing that life is finite, you open up to the possibility of living more intentionally, ensuring that your days are filled with purpose instead of routine. This isn't morbid, it's rather liberating, allowing you to cultivate experiences that truly matter, not just survive the daily grind. Now let's dive into the truth about legacy. Legacy isn't just what you leave behind. It's also about the ripples of your actions throughout the lives of others. Think of it like tossing a pebble into a pond. The impact spreads far beyond the initial splash. When you approach your life with the seriousness it deserves, your legacy starts taking shape in curious ways. The laughs shared with that quirky friend, the wisdom dropped unexpectedly in a casual conversation, or even that thoughtful gesture you made when no one was watching, they all contribute to the larger tapestry of who you are and how you affect the world. Each small act, when valued, becomes a thread that weaves into the lives of others, creating a chain reaction of impact. You're not just living for yourself, you're also leaving behind an inspiration that can illuminate paths for others. So the next time you consider what legacy you're crafting, remember that it's not about grand gestures, but rather the simple, heartfelt things. They might just mean more than you think. Finding purpose in life often feels like an elusive game of hide and seek, where the clock ticks ominously in the background. But here's a tip to keep it playful. Treat each day like a treasure hunt. Look for little gems that spark joy, even in the mundane. It could be a deep conversation over coffee or sharing a laugh about something absurd. Recognizing these moments not only enriches your life, but also adds layers to your legacy. The key lies in being present, nurturing relationships, and understanding the power of your intentions. Life is constantly throwing challenges your way, but if you keep your eyes peeled for those meaningful connections and experiences, you'll find that living with purpose isn't just a lofty ideal, it can be your everyday reality. How to reflect without becoming depressed. Reflective thinking can be a tricky beast. It's all too easy to wander down a path of existential dread when pondering life's bigger questions, like, what am I doing with my life? And why do I keep losing my socks in the laundry? To avoid spiraling into darkness, try grounding your reflections in gratitude. Focusing on what you appreciate, instead of what's lacking or problematic, can change your internal narrative. This doesn't mean avoiding tough topics, but rather framing them within the context of personal growth. When you encounter moments of doubt, challenge those thoughts by asking yourself how they've shaped who you are today. Instead of thinking, I failed at that, remember, I learned something from that experience. The goal is to be honest with yourself without launching into a pity party where the only music is sad songs and the lights are dimmed. Remind yourself that every story, even the messy ones, has a silver lining if you look hard enough. Consider my own reflective journey. I once had a botched attempt at hosting a dinner party. In case you ever wondered how long it takes to ruin spaghetti sauce, the answer is not as long as you'd hope. On the night of the grand culinary adventure, I accidentally substituted salt with sugar. The ensuing meal was an experience that could make even a dessert-loving child recoil in horror. Initially, I was crushed. How could I mess up something as simple as noodles? Yet, with time and reflection, I realized that it was the awkward laughter of guests and their clueless attempts at eating the sweet, salty disaster that taught me resilience and the importance of embracing imperfection. That night became a cornerstone of my life, reminding me that the best memories often arise from blunders. Instead of dwelling on my failure, I learned to celebrate the hilarity and humanity in the moment. Reflective thinking, when done right, can lead to insights and breakthroughs rather than spiraling into gloom. Next time you find yourself stuck in a contemplative rut, try to rewire your thoughts. Channel that reflection into learning, growth, and a pinch of humor. Remember, life is a series of moments, some glorious, others ridiculous, but all worth reflecting upon. When in doubt, ask yourself if you'd laugh about it in a few years. If the answer is yes, you're on the right track. So carry on with your reflections, but keep the dose of humor handy. It's the best antidote for the blues. Final thoughts. Life has a funny way of teaching us lessons, often wrapped in layers of honesty and humor. The experiences we've shared throughout this journey peel back those layers, revealing actionable advice that's not only practical, but essential for everyone. Think of them as your little nuggets of wisdom, sprinkled generously like salt on your fries. Whether it's about embracing vulnerability, finding laughter in the toughest moments, or truly understanding the value of failed attempts, these lessons are universally applicable. The truth is, honesty can be a hard pill to swallow, yet it's pivotal in navigating personal growth. When you accept where you are and recognize where you want to go, the path becomes clearer and, oddly enough, more amusing too. Realizing that we all have quirks and mishaps can turn our follies into shared laughter, making the journey less lonely and much more enjoyable. Now, here's the kicker. It's never too late to change your life. Just when you think you've hit a dead end, a new door swings open, often when you least expect it. Let's be real, life changes can sound daunting, like trying to climb Mount Everest after a long stretch on the couch. Yet, change doesn't always have to come with a marching band. Sometimes it's as simple as swapping out a bad habit for a good one small step at a time. So why not embrace the absurdity of this existence? Take a moment to chuckle at the slip-ups and the detours. They're all part of the grand comedy show we call life. Every dramatic twist and unexpected turn is just an opportunity for growth. If you find yourself stuck, just remember the late nights that turned into morning, the bad dates that made for good stories, and the moments when laughter was the only thing keeping you sane. Let that humor fuel your motivation to act, because change is waiting for you, and it's got a pretty good sense of humor. As a practical nod, consider starting small. Identify one tiny change you can make that feels almost laughably easy. Maybe it's spending a few minutes each day reflecting on what went well instead of what didn't, or sending a text to someone you've been meaning to reconnect with. Commit to it for a week and see how it shifts your perspective. Remember, transformation doesn't always need a grand stage. Sometimes, it simply needs the spotlight of your attention. Encouragement to act, not just think. It's easy to dream big while sitting comfortably on the couch, isn't it? You can close your eyes, picture that perfect life, and feel the glow of your aspirations. But here's the kicker. Nothing happens until you get off that couch. The most important step towards living your dreams is taking action, however small. It could be as simple as writing down your goals or making a phone call that propels you forward. The secret sauce? It's movement. The universe has an odd way of responding to those who take the plunge. Perhaps it's the principle of momentum. Once you start moving, every little step builds on the last. The longer you stay still, the harder it becomes to leap into action. So why not kickstart your journey today? The most beautiful dreams can quickly turn into nothing more than dust collecting in the corners of your imagination if you don't make them real. Now let's tackle that pesky inertia. We all have those days when we feel like a sloth on a Sunday, comfortable, cozy, but utterly unproductive. The monotony can play tricks on your motivation, leading you to believe that staying put is the safe choice. Fear, too, loves to settle in when we think about stepping outside our comfort zones. But here's a thought. What if every time you feel that familiar grip of fear, you recognized it as a sign that something meaningful is just on the other side? The truth is, it's not about eliminating fear. It's about doing it scared. Light yourself on fire with passion and dive into that life you've always wanted. Each small victory will eventually build a fire strong enough to burn through any doubt or hesitation. Embrace the awkwardness of starting something new. It's part of the process. You'll probably stumble a few times, but who doesn't enjoy a good laugh at their own expense? Next time you find yourself in a rut, remind yourself that the most extraordinary stories come from extraordinary actions, and you are the author of your own life. Imagine sitting down with an old friend, the kind you share deep talks with, and who challenges you to see things clearly. What would they tell you? Probably something like, get up, take that class, start that blog, or even sprinkle some creativity into your day. Take one tiny step, no matter how insignificant it seems. You have nothing to lose but that cozy spot on the couch. Besides, Even the boldest dreams start with a single heartbeat of action. So go ahead and take that step. Who knows where it might lead you? The joy in living well, giving generously, and laughing at life's chaos. Life has a way of throwing curveballs that can leave you feeling off balance. Between deadlines, family commitments, and the daily grind, chaos often becomes an unwelcome companion. Yet, within this whirlwind lies the beauty of existence. Finding joy in the smallest moments can transform an ordinary day into something extraordinary. Whether it's savoring your morning coffee while the world buzzes by, or finding a silly meme that makes you snort laugh, embracing these little joys elevates the human experience. It's key to see that life doesn't have to be perfect to be rich with happiness. Perhaps it's about the journey, not the destination. Every hiccup, every stumble, every funny incident is a thread that weaves together the tapestry of your life. Remember the time you accidentally spilled coffee on your boss and turned her frown into laughter? That's the kind of chaotic joy that makes existence vibrant. Laughter truly is the best medicine. It's a universal language that transcends age, culture, and circumstance. Picture this. You're sitting at a diner with friends, recounting the time you tried to impress a date by cooking a fancy dinner. You ended up setting off the smoke alarm instead. Instead of feeling embarrassed, you all howled with laughter. It's these shared moments of silliness that deepen connections more than money ever could. As you go through life, don't forget to keep a sense of humor handy. It's like carrying a lighter in your pocket. When things get intense, a good laugh can lighten the mood. Your ability to find humor in life's absurdities will not only enrich your journey, but also provide a soft landing when things go sideways. Embrace the quirky and the unexpected, because at the end of the day, it's often the chaos that writes the most memorable stories of our lives. As you navigate through your own hustle, remember to laugh a little louder and a little longer. Seek joy actively. Make it a point to discover at least one reason to smile each day, whether it's through a silly TikTok or a chat with a friend who knows how to tickle your funny bone. Life's complexities will always be there, but filling your life with joyous moments can turn the mundane into something magical. So here we are. If you've made it to this point, then you already understand. Wealth isn't just about money. It's about mindset. It's about how you treat time, energy, people, and yourself. You don't need another hack. You don't need to buy 5 more courses or wait until Mercury is in retrograde's cousin's house. You just need to act. To start. To do one real thing today that future you will thank you for. The point of this book wasn't to impress you. It was to free you from the noise, from the excuses, from the idea that you have to become someone else to be wealthy. You don't. You just need to become the version of you that stops bullshitting yourself. Give generously. Rest often. Laugh hard. And when you stumble, smile, because fools fall, but the wealthy fool gets back up, checks the budget, and keeps going. Thank you for walking this journey with me. Here's to building wealth that actually feels like wealth, peaceful, powerful, and truly yours. Yours, Sylvie Constantine, Mindful Literary.